The flashing lights came out of nowhere, red and blue slicing through the misty Baltimore night. Andre Lewis felt his stomach drop as he glanced in the rearview mirror. Two cruisers, both closing in fast. He'd just dropped off his last passenger for the night, a quiet ride, 6 minutes, paid through the app. His shift was over. He was 3 blocks from home, humming softly to the radio, when the siren screamed. He pulled over immediately, easing his black sedan to the curb beneath a broken streetlight. His wipers scraped against the drizzle. The air smelled like wet asphalt and adrenaline. "License and registration," a voice barked before he could even lower the window all the way. Andre handed both documents over without a word. Years of driving had taught him the first rule: stay calm, stay still, stay polite. The officer, tall, stocky, early 40s, shone a flashlight across Andre's face. "Where are you headed?" "Home, sir. I just finished a rideshare shift." The second cruiser stopped behind the first. Another officer emerged, hand resting on her holster, eyes darting between Andre and the car. The first cop's flashlight lingered. "You fit the description." "Of who?" "Step out of the vehicle." Wait, what description?" No answer. Andre slowly unbuckled his seatbelt, keeping his hands visible, every motion deliberate. His mother's voice echoed in his head: "Cooperate, but record." He tapped the dashcam app on his phone, setting it to stream to the cloud automatically. The faint red light blinked to life. Rain pattered harder against the hood. The second officer circled the car, checking the trunk, the plates. "Put your hands on the hood." Andre hesitated. "Sir, may I ask what this is about?" "Hands on the hood, now!" He did as told, palms pressed against the cold metal, breath fogging in the chill air. The sound of a zipper, one of them opening his backpack, made him tense. "You can't search that without—" "Quiet! You match a suspect in an armed robbery nearby." Andre looked up. "An armed robbery? I just dropped someone off. You can check my Uber log." "Save it for later." A third voice, another officer arriving, cut in softly. "Sarge, description says SUV, not sedan." "Doesn't matter. Dark hoodie, male, late 20s to 30s. Close enough. Cuff him first, sort it later." The words stabbed through the rain. Cuff him first, sort it later. Cold steel tightened around Andre's wrists. The rain slid down his neck, merging with the heat of humiliation creeping up his spine. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't fighting, but inside something cracked. Not in fear, but in disbelief. They hadn't even asked his name. As they led him to the curb, Andre caught sight of his dashcam light still blinking faintly on the dashboard, the only witness that wouldn't look away. A few minutes later, when dispatch confirmed the suspect's car was a gray SUV, not a black sedan, one officer muttered, "You can go." No apology, no acknowledgement, just those 3 words: routine, mechanical, meaningless. Andre stood there for a second, the cuffs gone, but the sting still wrapped around his wrists. He got back in his car, hands shaking slightly as he adjusted the mirror. The red and blue lights receded into the distance, leaving behind the echo of tires and the phrase that would stay with him forever: "You fit the description." If you've ever heard those words, "You fit the description," and felt your heartbeat spike before you even knew why, this story is for you. Andre's calm, his camera, and his courage will expose what happens when a system confuses suspicion with skin. Hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to Black Thread Stories, because sometimes the only way to change the narrative is to record it.
Andre didn't go home that night. He couldn't. He parked his car 2 blocks away, turned off the engine, and just sat there, rain still tapping lightly on the roof like an impatient metronome. He watched the dashcam footage on his phone, replaying the flashing lights, the voices, the moment they said, "Just cuff him first." The audio was faint, but clear enough. He felt his stomach twist. It didn't matter how calm he'd been, how cooperative. In their eyes, he was still a suspect first, a man second. The timestamp read 11:42 p.m. He should have been home by now, asleep. Instead, he was trying to process how quickly a routine drive had turned into a humiliation. He thought about his mother, Lillian, retired Army nurse, tough, practical, the kind of woman who could silence a room just by saying your name. She'd always warned him, "Stay composed, Dre. Anger won't protect you. Proof will." That's why he bought the dashcam. 2 years ago, a drunk passenger had accused him of stealing a phone. The camera cleared his name. Since then, he'd never drove without it. He scrolled back through old recordings, traffic stops, pickups, drop-offs, late-night conversations. All ordinary, all uneventful. And now, this. He pressed play again. The rain hissed softly through the mic. Then came the flashlight glare, the barked orders, the phrase that changed everything. "You fit the description." Andre replayed those words over and over. They didn't sound like suspicion. They sounded like permission. Permission to assume, to control, to humiliate. He rubbed his wrist absent-mindedly, still feeling the phantom weight of the cuffs. When he finally drove home, the city felt different. Every flashing light on the street, even a reflection from a passing ambulance, made his shoulders tense. He caught himself checking the mirror too often. At home, his mother was still awake, reading in her chair. She looked up the second he walked in. "Dre, what's wrong?" He hesitated, then sat on the couch across from her. "They pulled me over tonight." "For what?" "They said I fit the description. Didn't tell me of what until after they cuffed me." Her hand tightened on the armrest. "Did you record it?" He nodded. "Yeah." "Good," she said quietly. "You okay?" "I thought I was, until I realized how easily it could have gone wrong." They sat in silence for a long time. The clock ticked. Rain pattered against the window. Lillian finally said, "When I was your age, I watched my brother go through the same thing. Only difference is there weren't cameras back then." Andre looked up. "What did he do?" She said, "He learned to stay quiet. That's what they made us do. But times change. You don't have to stay quiet, Dre. You've got proof now." He thought about that. The idea of posting the video made his pulse quicken, not from fear, but from knowing what it could start. He imagined the headlines, the comments, the disbelief. Maybe he did something we didn't see. Maybe he looked suspicious. He could already hear it. But his mother's voice anchored him. Proof is louder than defense. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I've got proof." Before going to bed, Andre uploaded the footage to a secure drive and sent a copy to himself. Then, almost instinctively, he drafted a tweet. "Stop for fitting the description. Cuffed before questioned. No apology after cleared. Dashcam saw it all." He didn't post it. Not yet. But the words sat there on his screen. Quiet, waiting, like a match before the strike.
Andre barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same scene. Flashing lights, cold rain, the metallic click of handcuffs. By morning, the memory felt both distant and raw, like a bruise pressed from the inside. He brewed coffee but didn't drink it. Instead, he opened his laptop and started searching. Baltimore's stop and search cases. Fit the description, racial profiling. The results were endless. News clips, lawsuits, opinion pieces. Different names, same pattern. He clicked one headline.
Man detained for fitting the description of suspect. I was just walking home. Another. Local police under fire for repeated wrong stops. Each story bled into the next. Different faces, same script. Andre sat back in his chair. So this is how it happens. One wrong stop at a time. Each incident small enough to ignore, but together, a pattern big enough to swallow people whole. His phone buzzed. It was Elena, a fellow rideshare driver and his oldest friend. "Hey, Dre, you working today?" He hesitated. "Not sure yet." "You sound off. You good?" He told her everything. The stop, the cuffs, the silence. She swore under her breath. "You recorded it, right?" "Yeah. Thinking about posting it." "You should," she said immediately. "People need to see it." He frowned. "You know how this goes. They'll say I'm exaggerating, that I did something off camera." "So what?" she shot back. "You've got proof, and you've got the truth. That's more than most." Andre didn't answer. He looked over at his phone, at the paused video still open in the app. Rain streaking across the windshield, his voice calm, the officer's sharp tone slicing through the audio. He pressed play again, watching the dashcam footage as if it belonged to someone else. His own reflection flickered faintly in the screen. Then he noticed something he'd missed before. A line from the radio chatter. A male voice saying, "Suspect vehicle, gray SUV heading north." He rewound, played it again. It was there, clear as day. He grabbed his notepad, scribbled the time code down. Evidence of negligence, maybe even misconduct. His pulse quickened. That afternoon, he decided to call the precinct listed on his citation slip, the same one that had pulled him over. The desk sergeant answered, voice curt. "Yeah, I'm calling to file a formal complaint. I was detained last night by your officers, wrongfully." "What's your name?" "Lewis, Andre Lewis." Pause. Then a sigh. "Sir, if you feel you were mistreated, you can fill out a civilian report in person." "Can I submit video evidence?" "You can attach it to your statement, sure. But keep in mind, our officers followed standard procedure. If you fit a suspect's description, they're allowed to detain." Andre's jaw tightened. "Even if the description's wrong?" "Sir, that's for the investigation to decide." Click. The line went dead. He stared at his phone, pulse thudding in his temples. The word procedure rang in his ears. It sounded so clean, so official, the kind of word that sterilized everything ugly beneath it. That night, he drove again. Habit, maybe. The city rolled by in streaks of neon and fog. Every time a police car passed, he felt his grip tighten on the wheel. At a red light, he opened his phone. The unsent tweet still sat there, waiting. Stopped for fitting the description. Cuffed before questioned. No apology after cleared. Dashcam saw it all. He hovered over post. His mother's voice came back to him, steady and sure. "Proof will protect you, but silence will protect them." He pressed send. The tweet hit the timeline like a spark on dry grass. Within an hour, his phone started buzzing. Replies, retweets, strangers tagging news outlets. Someone wrote, "Post the video." Andre took a deep breath, then attached the dashcam clip. No commentary. Just the video, raw and unedited. He set his phone down, heart pounding, not realizing that he had just pressed record, not for himself this time, but for everyone else who would ever fit the description.
By sunrise, the video had exploded. 500,000 views in 8 hours. Comments flooding in faster than Andre could read them. Some supportive, others venomous, all loud. Typical, playing the victim. If he was innocent, what's he afraid of? This is why cameras matter. Proof speaks louder than panic. Same thing happened to my cousin last year.
Baltimore cops don't learn. Andre sat at his kitchen table, phone vibrating nonstop, coffee untouched. The screen glowed with retweets, mentions, DMs. Journalists were reaching out. Activists. Strangers. He scrolled through the feed, heart pounding with a strange mix of validation and dread. His mother called. "You posted it." "I did," Andre said quietly. "Are you ready for what comes next?" He hesitated. "I thought I was, but it's bigger than I expected." "It always is. They'll try to twist it. Stay calm. Stick to the truth. That's your armor." He nodded, even though he couldn't see him. That afternoon, the first news segment aired. A local reporter summarized the incident, playing short clips from the dashcam, the rain, the lights, the moment the officer said, "Just cuff him first." The anchor's tone was careful. Alleged profiling. Under investigation. But the footage spoke for itself. By evening, national outlets had picked it up. Hashtag Fit the Description trended on Twitter. Thousands shared their own experiences, stories of misidentity, wrongful stops, humiliation that never made headlines. They said I matched a robbery suspect. My crime? Wearing a hoodie. Driving home from work. Got pulled over because I looked nervous. Andre watched, stunned. His story wasn't just his anymore. It was everyone's. But not everyone saw it that way. At 9 p.m., his phone buzzed again, this time with a blocked number. "Mr. Lewis?" "Yes?" "This is Sergeant Cole from the department's Internal Affairs Division. We'd like to speak with you regarding your video." "Sure," Andre said cautiously. "About what exactly?" "We received significant attention about the footage you posted. We want to clarify some details before misinformation spreads." He almost laughed. Now they cared about misinformation. "All right," he said. "When and where?" "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., precinct headquarters. Bring you recording." "Don't worry, it's backed up." That night, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. A car idled across the street longer than necessary. A neighbor he barely knew asked, "You the guy from the video?" Andre nodded. The man smiled awkwardly. "Bold move, man. Just be careful." He closed the curtains. Around midnight, a notification popped up. Someone had tagged him in a post, a screenshot of his home address pulled from public records. He froze. The post had already gathered dozens of comments, some supportive, some not. His phone buzzed again, Elena calling. "Dre, don't look at the comments. It's going viral in the wrong corners now." "I'm seeing it. They found my address." "Jesus!" Andre rubbed his temples. "I didn't think it'd get this far this fast. You're exposing something they don't want exposed. You know what that means?" "Yeah," I murmured. "It means the system's scared." The next morning, Andre showed up at the precinct, black hoodie, jeans, dash cam in hand. The lobby smelled like disinfectant and tension. Sergeant Cole greeted him with a stiff handshake. "Mr. Lewis, let's make this quick." They ushered him into a conference room. 2 officers sat waiting. One of them, the same sergeant from that night. Andre recognized the voice immediately. Cole gestured toward a chair. "We reviewed the footage. You were detained as part of an ongoing investigation. Nothing more." Andre leaned forward. "An investigation that didn't match my car, or my plate, or my face." The room went silent. The sergeant from the stop cleared his throat. "We acted in good faith, Mr. Lewis. Our priority is public safety." Andre held up his phone and played the clip. "Just cuff him first, sort it later." The line echoed in the small room. Cole shifted uncomfortably. "That's out of context." "Then give me the full one," Andre said evenly, "because that sounds like policy to me." No one answered. Andre stood. "I'm not here for an apology. I'm here for acknowledgement. You can't keep calling it a misunderstanding when it keeps happening. He walked out before they could respond. Cameras were waiting outside, reporters shouting his name, flashbulbs popping. Andre didn't flinch. He just looked into the nearest lens and said, "They said I fit the description, but maybe it's the description that needs to change."
By the next morning, Andre's quote, "Maybe it's the description that needs to change," was everywhere. Talk shows replayed it. News panels debated it. Commentators dissected every second of the dashcam video. He'd become a symbol overnight. Not by choice, but by circumstance. When he stopped for groceries that afternoon, a cashier whispered, "Are you that guy? The one from the video?" He nodded awkwardly. She smiled shyly. "Just, thank you." But the recognition wasn't all kind. At a red light, someone in a pickup rolled down the window and shouted, "Next time, just do what they say," before speeding off. Andre kept both hands on the wheel and didn't react. At home, he tried to focus on normalcy, folding laundry, making tea, answering texts from worried friends, but his phone kept lighting up with notifications. One DM stood out. The sender's name was Anonymous Officer. "I work your district. You should know. There's a quota. They'll never admit it on paper, but we're told to increase visibility stops in certain neighborhoods after dark. It's code for stop more black drivers. You're not paranoid. You were policy." Andre stared at the message, pulse quickening. He took a screenshot, then sent it to Elena. She called within minutes. "Dre, that's huge." "I know, but if I post it, they'll say it's fake." "Then we verify it. Find someone else to back it up." "How?" "I've got a cousin in city records. She might find internal memos. Let me ask." Andre hesitated. "You sure you want to get involved?" Elena laughed. "I already am." That night, a news segment aired featuring the police spokesperson. He wore a crisp, blue uniform and a calm, practiced smile. "The department stands by its officers. While unfortunate, Mr. Lewis's experience was part of routine procedure. There is no racial component to this stop." Andre muted the TV. "No racial component," he repeated under his breath. He opened his email. There was a new message. Subject line, "We need to talk." It was from the Baltimore Chronicle, the same paper that had broken several corruption stories in the past. The reporter, a woman named Tara Nguyen, wrote, "Mr. Lewis, we've been investigating patterns of biased traffic stops for months. Your footage could confirm what our sources have been saying. Would you be willing to meet off record?" Andre typed back a single line. Name the time and place. They met the next morning in a quiet cafe near the harbor. Tara was sharp-eyed, calm, the kind of person who spoke like every word mattered. She said, "You know you've become the face of this." "I didn't ask for that." "Most people don't," she said. "But your case is different. We've seen data showing 78% of fit the description stops involve black men driving alone after 10 p.m. And now we have video." She slid her tablet across the table. Charts, names, locations, all matching the same pattern. Andre scrolled, silent. "You're telling me this is systemic?" "I'm telling you," she said. "It's documented." She looked at him directly. "If we publish this, the department will come after both of us. You sure you want in?" Andre leaned back, exhaled. "I don't want revenge. I want accountability." "Then let's get it." That night, he sat at his desk with the dashcam video playing on loop, editing together the clearest segments, the sound of the rain, the handcuffs, the radio chatter confirming gray SUV. He overlaid timestamps, labels, and the words, "Procedure without reason is prejudice in uniform." When he was done, he sent the file to Tara. Then he opened Twitter again and typed, "They called it protocol. I call it profiling. Full footage dropping tomorrow." He hit post. Within minutes, #FitTheDescription started trending again. Andre leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. Not from fear this time, but from resolve. He whispered to himself, "No more silence." And for the first time since that night, the air around him didn't feel heavy. It felt electric.
By noon the next day, Andre's full footage was everywhere. On Twitter, on TikTok, in news feeds, even spliced into reaction videos. It wasn't just a clip anymore, it was evidence. The dashcam showed everything in chilling clarity. The flashing lights cutting through the mist, the voice saying, "Just cuff him first," and the radio message contradicting it all. Suspect vehicle, gray SUV heading north. It was irrefutable. The video racked up 4 million views within a day. By evening, it reached 10. But the fallout was instant. Local police unions released a statement calling Andre's video selectively edited. Online commentators dug through his social media, searching for anything to discredit him. Old college photos resurfaced. Anonymous accounts flooded his mentions. He's exaggerating. He provoked them. Typical media stunt. Elena texted him, "Don't read the comments. Focus on the impact." But Andre couldn't look away. Every refresh brought a new wave of anger, both righteous and hateful. Then came the call from Tara. "Andre, brace yourself. The mayor's holding a press conference." The broadcast began at 6 p.m. sharp. The mayor stood behind a podium, flanked by the police chief. Cameras flashed. "We are aware of the footage released by Mr. Lewis. While we continue to support our officers, this video raises legitimate concerns about bias in policing practices." The chief stepped forward, jaw tight. "Let me be clear. Our officers acted according to established procedure. However, we acknowledge inconsistencies in our stop criteria and have launched an internal review." Andre sat on his couch, watching in disbelief. Inconsistencies. The word was so soft it almost erased what happened. His mother entered quietly, a hand on his shoulder. "They're scared. That's their way of saying you got through to them." He exhaled. "Feels like they're still dodging the truth." Change doesn't come dressed as honesty. It starts with discomfort. 2 days later, Tara published her article. The headline was everywhere. Leaked documents reveal unofficial quotas in Baltimore police stops. The report linked these stops to a 22% spike in wrongful detentions. Andre's case was front and center, his video embedded, his name in bold. The city lit up. Protesters filled downtown streets carrying signs. Not a suspect, just a citizen. Cameras don't lie. End hashtag fit the description. He joined one of the marches quietly, hoodie up, mask on. Around him, voices chanted his own words from the interview. Maybe it's the description that needs to change. He looked around, young, old, families, strangers, all moving as one. For a moment, he felt something he hadn't since that night: hope. But the backlash didn't rest. One evening while scrolling through his messages, Andre received a new email. Subject line: "Consider removing your video." The message came from a law firm representing the police union. "Your footage includes identifiable personnel. You are in violation of state privacy statutes. Remove all public postings within 48 hours or face legal action." Andre stared at the email, the words burning in his mind. He forwarded it to Tara and to his lawyer, who replied within minutes. "They're bluffing. Your recording was public, and it shows misconduct, not private activity. They just want to intimidate you." Andre closed his laptop. He'd expected resistance, but not threats. Still, he wasn't backing down. He picked up his phone and started a live stream, his first ever. The numbers climbed quickly as people joined. "They told me to take it down. They said it was a privacy issue. But what about my privacy that night? What about every driver who's been stopped, questioned, or cuffed for fitting a description that was never theirs?" Thousands watched in silence. The comments flooded in. Hearts, fists, words of support. He ended the stream with one line that would soon become a rallying cry: "If they can stop me for looking like someone else, then they can stop any of us. That's why I won't delete the truth." That clip was replayed on the evening news, and within 24 hours the department withdrew its threat. But by then, it was too late.
The movement had already taken root. Hashtag fit the description wasn't just a hashtag anymore. It was a question being asked in every city hall, every precinct, every traffic stop where someone dared to turn on a camera. Andre had gone from driver to witness, and now from witness to catalyst.
Within a week, Baltimore's skyline was filled with voices. Protesters gathered outside City Hall holding homemade signs, news vans lined the streets, and murals began appearing overnight, bold graffiti portraits of Andre with the caption, "Proof has a name." He didn't paint them, he didn't ask for them, but he couldn't stop them either. The story had outgrown him. When Tara's article hit the national wires, other cities started re-examining their own stop-and-search data. Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta. The pattern was unmistakable. Routine procedures that somehow kept targeting the same faces. Andre's inbox filled with letters, some from people he'd never met, others from officers who wanted to talk. One message stood out. "Mr. Lewis, I'm a retired sergeant. I saw your video. We were told to look for suspicious movement, but we all knew what that meant. I'm sorry you had to be the one to prove it." He read that one twice, then forwarded it to Tara. That night, his mother sat beside him on the porch, their neighborhood quiet except for the distant hum of helicopters. "You realize what you've done?" she said softly. "I didn't do anything," he said. "I just showed what was already happening." She smiled faintly. And that's what scares them most. The following Monday, Andre was invited to testify before the City Council's Public Safety Committee. He'd never been inside that building before. Now, TV crews waited outside as he walked up the marble steps in his best jacket, clutching a small flash drive with the footage that started it all. When he entered the chamber, the crowd fell silent. Councilwoman Price, a sharp-spoken woman with a calm authority, introduced him. "Mr. Lewis, you have 5 minutes." Andre nodded, adjusted the microphone, and began. "On March 22nd, I was stopped because I fit the description. I wasn't asked my name. I wasn't told why. I was cuffed first, explained to later. That's not safety, that's habit." He paused, looking directly at the police representatives seated in the front row. "I'm not here to demonize officers. I'm here to question the system that trains them to see threat where there's just a person. You can't reform what you refuse to name. So let's name it. Racial bias disguised as protocol." A murmur swept through the room. Reporters scribbled. Cameras clicked. The phrase, "fit the description," has been used to justify countless stops, searches, and arrests. But descriptions don't just describe, they define. And too often, they define us as dangerous before we even speak. He took a breath. The room was utterly still. "I'm asking for one change: transparency. Every stop logged, every reason recorded, every officer accountable for every description. Because if a camera can capture the truth, then so can a report." The room erupted in applause. Councilwoman Price leaned forward. "Mr. Lewis," she said, "thank you. You've done what policy hasn't, made people listen." Later that evening, as he stepped out into the crisp air, reporters swarmed. "Andre, do you think this will lead to real change?" He smiled wearily. "Change doesn't start with laws. It starts with eyes. Theirs, ours, yours." 2 days later, the City Council voted unanimously to pass the Lewis Act, requiring all traffic stops to include documented justification and body cam review within 48 hours. The same officers who detained him were placed under investigation. That night, Andre stood on his balcony, phone in hand, scrolling through the messages pouring in. One from Elena read, "They named a bill after you, man. You did it." He typed back, "We did it." Below his post, a reply appeared from a stranger.
My brother was killed in a fit-the-description stop 5 years ago. You made sure people finally care. Thank you." Andre stared at the message, eye stinging. For the first time since that night, he allowed himself to cry, not out of pain, but relief. Because sometimes justice doesn't roar. Sometimes it arrives quietly, through proof and persistence, one recorded moment at a time.
2 months later, Baltimore felt like a different city. Or maybe Andre had just learned to see it differently. Patrol cars still rolled down his block at night, but they didn't slow when they saw him anymore. Drivers nodded to him in red lights. Teenagers yelled, "Yo, that's the dude who changed the rules," when he passed. He smiled, waved back, and kept driving. Life had settled into something like normal again, though nothing about him felt the same. He still drove rideshare, still turned on his dashcam before every trip. But now, it wasn't just for protection. It was for record, for truth, for others who couldn't. One night, a passenger got in. A young white college kid, earbuds dangling, backpack slung over one shoulder. Halfway through the ride, the kid hesitated, then said, "Hey man, you're Andre Lewis, right?" Andre nodded. The kid smiled awkwardly. "I watched your video for a class on racial bias. It really changed how I think about stuff. I didn't realize how many people go through that." Andre chuckled softly. Most don't, until they see it happen. When they reached the drop-off, the kid paused before getting out. "Thanks for filming it, man." Andre watched him disappear into the dorm building, the words echoing long after the door shut. Weeks later, he received an invitation in the mail. Embossed letterhead, official seal. The Department of Justice, Office of Civil Rights. They wanted him to serve on a national advisory panel about policing reform. He read the letter twice, then showed it to his mother. She smiled proudly. "See, Dre, you didn't just speak up, you made them listen." He looked out the window at the quiet street. "You think they'll really change?" She shrugged gently. "Maybe not all at once, but you turned a flashlight in a dark room. That's how change starts." At the first panel meeting in D.C., Andre sat beside lawyers, professors, and retired officers. When it was his turn to speak, he didn't use notes. "I'm not a politician. I'm not an activist. I'm a driver. I was cuffed for matching a vague idea of guilt. But I had a camera, and because of that, I had proof. What we call routine can ruin lives. The goal isn't to hate cops. It's to build systems where truth isn't optional." The room went quiet. Then, applause. A senator leaned toward him afterward and said, "That line, 'Truth isn't optional,' that's the kind of phrase history remembers." Andre smiled politely, though inside he was thinking of something simpler. His mother's voice, saying, "Stay calm, record everything." Months later, standing in his driveway one early morning, Andre caught himself in the car window. Older somehow, steadier. The sun was rising, casting long streaks of gold down the empty street. He reached inside the car and switched on the dash cam again. The little red light blinked, just like the night it had all begun. He thought of all the people who'd messaged him, all the stories that had surfaced because one man decided to hit record instead of stay silent. He whispered to himself, "Still recording." Then he got in, started the engine, and drove off into the light. Because now, every time he drove, he wasn't just driving for himself. He was driving for everyone who'd ever fit the description.
Andre's story wasn't supposed to be extraordinary. He wasn't an activist or a hero. He was just a man driving home from work, obeying every law, trusting that decency would protect him. But that night proved something larger than one encounter could hold. In America, sometimes your innocence has to fight to be believed. The phrase, "you fit the description," wasn't just a mistake. It was a mirror.
It reflected a system that sees threat before it sees humanity, that trains its eyes to fear certain faces before learning their names. Andre didn't change that system overnight, but he cracked it open, one frame, one recording, one truth at a time. Because the dashcam didn't just capture a stop, it captured a pattern. And when the world watched, they couldn't look away. What began as humiliation turned into evidence. Evidence became outrage. Outrage became reform. And reform, for once, carried a name. The Lewis Act wasn't written by politicians. It was written by reality, by one man's refusal to let silence be mistaken for peace. Months later, the city where he'd once been cuffed without cause named an intersection after him, Lewis Square. He drove by once, windows down, watching people cross without fear. For the first time, he felt what safety was supposed to mean, not the absence of crime, but the presence of fairness. And somewhere in that quiet moment he understood. The camera didn't protect him because it was recording. It protected him because he decided his story was worth being heard. If Andre's story moved you, if you've ever been judged before being known, or silenced when you spoke the truth, remember, justice doesn't begin in courtrooms. It begins with witnesses. Hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to Black Thread Stories, where ordinary people expose extraordinary injustice, one story at a time.